3 weeks of eating gray paste had broken Danny Kowalski's spirit. The paste came in different flavors. Blue paste tasted like nothing. Green paste tasted like slightly different nothing. The orange paste was supposed to be sweet, but it reminded Danny of licking a battery while thinking about fruit. This was life on Relay 7, a massive trading station floating in deep space. Thousands of aliens from hundreds of worlds came here to do business. They all ate the paste because it was designed to offend nobody. No strong smells. No strange textures. No flavor that might upset a species with different taste organs. Danny hated it. He was a cargo logistics coordinator, which meant he spent his days tracking shipments and filling out forms. It was boring work, but the pay was good, and his grandmother had been so proud when he got the job. "My grandson, working with aliens," she had said, crying happy tears. She had also promised to send him real food. That promise had finally come true this morning. A small package had cleared customs after weeks of delays. Inside was a collection of sealed containers, packed with love and labeled in his grandmother's handwriting. Kimchi, pickled garlic, fermented black beans. The foods Danny had grown up eating. The foods he had been dreaming about for 3 long, paste-filled weeks. He carried the containers to the cafeteria like they were made of gold. The cafeteria was enormous. It had to be, to fit beings of all sizes. Some aliens were tiny, no bigger than cats. Others were huge, requiring special reinforced chairs. Most fell somewhere in between. Right now, maybe 200 beings sat at various tables, quietly eating their nutrient paste and having polite conversations. Danny found his usual spot near the windows. His friend Gorp was already there. Gorp was a Mundari, which meant he was short, round, and covered in thick gray skin. His species had excellent noses. They could smell things from across a room. Gorp claimed he could identify every species on the station by scent alone. "Danny," Gorp called out in his deep voice. "You look happy today. Did something good happen?" "Something amazing happened." Danny sat down and placed his containers on the table. "My grandmother sent me food from Earth. Real Earth food." Gorp's small eyes went wide. "I have heard stories about human cuisine. They say it is intense." "It's delicious," Danny said. "You'll see." At nearby tables, other aliens glanced over with curiosity. Humans were still rare in this part of space. Their food customs were mostly unknown. Danny's supervisor, Rilith, walked past with her own tray of paste. She was a Selvari, tall and thin with skin so pale you could see the blue veins underneath. Her species was sensitive to chemicals and smells. They could detect tiny amounts of almost anything in the air. "What is that?" Rilith asked, looking at Danny's containers. "Lunch," Danny said happily. "Want to join us?" Rilith sat down, more out of professional obligation than interest. "I suppose I should learn more about human customs. What exactly did your grandmother send?" "Traditional foods from my culture. Fermented vegetables, mostly." "Fermented?" Rilith's pale skin flickered with faint color. "What does that mean?" "It's a preservation method. You let beneficial bacteria grow in the food. It changes the flavor and makes it last longer." Danny picked up the largest container. "This one is kimchi, spicy fermented cabbage. My grandmother makes the best kimchi in 3 counties." He popped open the lid. The smell hit the air like a wave. It was glorious. Tangy, spicy, rich, and complex. Danny inhaled deeply, feeling tears form in his eyes. Not from pain. From pure joy and homesickness mixed together. Gorp made a sound like a squeaking door. His nose twitched violently. His eyes went wide. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Rilith's skin turned bright red, then purple, then a color Danny had never seen before. She stood up so fast her chair fell over. "What?" she gasped. "What is that?" "It's just kimchi," Danny said, confused. "It's vegetables." A Mundari at the next table started screaming. "Contamination. Biological contamination." The scream spread panic through the cafeteria. Aliens at other tables caught the smell. They reacted with horror. Some covered their faces. Others knocked over their chairs trying to get away. Station alarms began blaring. Red lights flashed on the ceiling. An automated voice announced something about a chemical emergency. Danny sat frozen, his chopsticks halfway to his mouth. 200 aliens stampeded toward the exits. Tables crashed. Paste splattered. Someone was crying in a language Danny did not understand. Gorp grabbed Danny's arm. "What did you bring? What is in that container?" "Just food." It's just food. Security drones swarmed into the cafeteria. They scanned the air, the tables, the floors. Their lights focused on Danny and his open container of kimchi. The main doors burst open. A team of figures in full hazmat suits rushed in, carrying weapons Danny did not recognize. The lead figure pointed at Danny. Nobody move. Where is the source of the biochemical agent? Danny looked down at his grandmother's kimchi. He looked at the hazmat team. He looked at the empty cafeteria, still full of overturned chairs and forgotten trays. I just wanted lunch, he said quietly. Nobody seemed to hear him. The hazmat team surrounded Danny like he was a bomb about to explode. Do not move, the leader said through his helmet speaker. Keep your hands where we can see them. I'm just holding chopsticks, Danny said weakly. Drop the utensils. Step away from the biological material. Danny put down his chopsticks and raised his hands. He stepped back from the table where his grandmother's kimchi sat, still open, still releasing its wonderful smell into the air. The hazmat team moved in with extreme caution. One of them held a scanner that beeped loudly. Another carried a sealed containment box. They treated the kimchi container like it was radioactive waste. Readings are off the chart, one of them said. Multiple bacterial signatures. Active fermentation compounds. Sulfur content is extremely high. Is it weaponized? The leader asked. Unknown. We need to get it to the lab. They sealed Danny's kimchi in the containment box. Then they sealed the box inside another box. Then they put that box inside a bag. Danny watched his lunch disappear. That's my grandmother's recipe. She spent 3 days making that. Nobody cared. The cafeteria was empty now. Overturned tables and scattered food trays covered the floor. The alarms had stopped, but red warning lights still flashed. Through the windows, Danny could see crowds of aliens gathered outside, pointing and talking. His friend Gorp was sitting on the floor near the exit, breathing heavily. His gray skin had turned pale. Gorp, Danny tried to walk toward him, but a hazmat team member blocked his path. No contact with other species until you are cleared. Is he okay? Is he hurt? Gorp looked up and waved weakly. I am fine, Danny. Just shocked. The smell was very strong. Rilith was not fine. Danny's supervisor was being treated by medical staff near another exit. Her pale skin was still changing colors. She was shaking. What did the smell do to her? Danny asked, feeling sick with worry. Selvari are extremely sensitive to chemical compounds, the hazmat leader explained. Her species uses skin color changes to warn others of danger. She experienced a severe reaction. But it's just vegetables. Fermented vegetables. Humans eat this all the time. The hazmat leader stared at Danny through his helmet. You eat this? Yes. It's delicious. It's healthy. It has probiotics. What is probiotics? Good bacteria. Bacteria that helps your stomach work better. Silence. The entire hazmat team had stopped moving. They all stared at Danny. You deliberately eat bacteria, the leader said slowly. Yes, all humans do. We eat lots of fermented foods. Cheese, yogurt, bread, soy sauce, vinegar. Danny counted on his fingers. Beer, wine, pickles, sauerkraut, miso soup. Stop. The leader held up a hand. Please stop. What's wrong? You are describing biological agents. Humans consume biological agents for nutrition? Danny was starting to understand the problem. On Earth, we call it fermentation. It's been part of our diet for thousands of years. We need it to survive. The hazmat team exchanged looks that Danny could not see through their helmets. But their body language said everything. They were horrified. You will come with us, the leader said. For your safety and ours. They put Danny in handcuffs. Not metal ones, but some kind of energy field that held his wrists together. He was walked through the station like a prisoner while crowds of aliens watched from safe distances. He heard whispers in translator static. That's the human. He tried to poison the cafeteria. I heard he eats decay. Disgusting. Danny wanted to explain. He wanted to shout that he was not a criminal. He was just a homesick guy who missed his grandmother's cooking. But the hazmat team kept him moving. They reached the security section and put Danny in a small cell. The walls were thick. The door was sealed. A ventilation system hummed overhead, filtering his air separately from the rest of the station that a screen on the wall showed news feeds. Danny's face was everywhere. The headline read, Human releases unknown biological agent in main cafeteria. Below that, another headline, Species evacuation protocols activated in sections 7 through 12. And below that, what are humans really eating? Scientists demand investigation. Danny sat on the hard bench in his cell and put his head in his hands. All he wanted was lunch. His grandmother was going to be so confused when she heard about this. She would probably think the aliens just did not appreciate good Korean food. She would not be entirely wrong. The cell door opened. A new figure stepped inside. This one was bigger than the hazmat team members. Its body was covered in hard plates, like armor made of bone. Its eyes were compound, like an insect, made of hundreds of tiny lenses. "I am Commander Yethra," the figure said, "Chief of Station Security. You will explain what you were trying to accomplish in the cafeteria." "I was trying to eat lunch." "Do not lie to me, human. The substance you released has been identified as containing over 40 different bacterial cultures. Some of them are actively reproducing. You brought living organisms into a public space." Danny sighed. "Yes, that's what fermented food is." Commander Yethra leaned closer. His compound eyes reflected Danny's face 100 times over. "Then we have much to discuss." Commander Yethra did not sit. His species apparently did not need to. He stood in the corner of Danny's cell like a statue made of bone and anger. "Explain fermentation," he demanded. Danny tried to think of the simplest way to describe it. "Okay, on Earth, food goes bad quickly. It rots. Thousands of years ago, humans discovered that certain bacteria could change food instead of destroying it. The bacteria eat sugars and produce acids. The acids preserve the food and give it new flavors. You let bacteria eat your food, then you eat the bacteria." "Well, yes, but it sounds worse than it is. It sounds like madness." Danny shrugged. "It kept our ancestors alive. Before refrigerators, before modern technology, fermentation was one of the only ways to store food safely. Every human culture developed fermented foods. Every single one." Commander Yethra's compound eyes flickered. "Show me evidence." A screen appeared on the wall. Danny was allowed to access the station's information network under heavy monitoring. He pulled up images of human foods from across Earth. "This is cheese," he said, pointing to a picture of a cheese wheel. "Fermented milk. Humans have been making it for at least 8,000 years." "Fermented milk." Yethra said the words like they burned his mouth. "This is bread. The yeast that makes it rise is a living fungus. It produces gas that creates bubbles in the dough. Living fungus. This is wine. Grapes fermented until their sugars turn into alcohol. This is soy sauce. Fermented soybeans and wheat. This is chocolate. The beans have to ferment before they develop the right flavor." Danny kept scrolling. Picture after picture. Yogurt, kefir, kombucha, tempeh, natto, fish sauce, Worcestershire sauce. The list went on and on. Commander Yethra had not moved, but his bone plates seemed tighter somehow, like he was trying to hold himself together. "And this is kimchi," Danny finished. "The food that caused the panic. Fermented cabbage with spices. My grandmother's recipe uses extra garlic and ginger. The lab results mention garlic." Yethra pulled up a report on his own screen. "Allium compounds. Highly volatile sulfur molecules. Toxic to 17 known species in concentrated form. Garlic is healthy for humans. It helps our immune system. Garlic would kill me if I ingested enough of it." Danny paused. "Oh, I did not know that." Clearly, for a long moment, neither of them spoke. Danny looked at the images of human food on the screen. Foods he had eaten his entire life without thinking. Foods that were apparently terrifying to the rest of the galaxy. "I truly did not mean to cause harm," he said quietly. "On Earth, these foods are normal. Children eat them. Grandmothers make them with love. I had no idea other species would react this way." Commander Yethra studied him with those 1,000 tiny eyes. "The medical team has finished their analysis. Your food is not toxic to any species currently on this station. The bacterial cultures are not dangerous in the amounts present. The panic was caused by smell alone. So I'm not in trouble." "I did not say that. You released a strong chemical compound in a public space without warning. 200 beings experienced distress. 17 required medical attention for stress responses. One Selvari nearly went into shock. Rilith, my supervisor. Is she okay?" "She is recovering. She asked me to tell you that she does not blame you personally, but she never wants to smell human food again." Danny winced. "Fair enough." Yethra was quiet again. When he spoke, his voice was different. Less angry, more confused. "How do humans survive eating this way?" Your digestive systems process live bacteria, strong acids, active fermentation compounds. Your bodies handle sulfur molecules that would damage my internal organs. You consume capsaicin, which is literally a plant's defense against being eaten. Capsaicin? You mean spicy food. The burning chemical in peppers. Humans eat it willingly. Some of you compete to eat the most painful varieties. Danny could not help smiling. Yeah, we do that. My uncle holds the record in our family for eating the hottest wings. Wings? What wings? Chicken wings covered in hot sauce. It's a human tradition. Commander Yethra made a sound that might have been a sigh. Humans are deathworlders. I knew this from reports. I knew your planet has extreme gravity, unstable climate, dangerous predators. But I did not truly understand until now. Understand what? You evolved to survive conditions that would kill most species. And somewhere along the way, you learned to enjoy the things that should harm you. Bacteria, acid, burning chemicals, decay itself. He paused. You turned survival into pleasure. Danny had never thought about it that way. On Earth, food was just food. Culture, tradition, family. He never considered that his grandmother's recipes were actually evidence of human biological toughness. I guess we did, he said. Commander Yethra moved toward the door. You will be released, but there will be restrictions. Human food must be contained. Special areas. Separate ventilation. This incident cannot repeat. I understand. The commander stopped at the door. His compound eyes glittered. One more question. Human. This kimchi. You said your grandmother makes it with love. Yes. Does it actually taste good to you? The bacteria, the acid, the sulfur? Danny thought about his grandmother's kitchen. The big clay pots. The careful preparations. The way she smiled when he asked for seconds. It tastes like home, he said. Commander Yethra considered this for a long moment. Then he left without another word. The hearing was held in the administrator's chamber 3 days later. Danny stood at the center of a circular room. Around him, seated in rising tiers, were representatives from every species affected by the cafeteria incident. Some looked curious. Some looked angry. A few looked like they might run away if Danny moved too quickly. High Administrator Prellis sat above them all on an elevated platform. She was a Selvari like Rilith, but much older. Her translucent skin had faded to almost white with age, and the veins beneath showed silver instead of blue. She radiated calm authority. Danny Kowalski of Earth, she said. Her voice was soft, but carried throughout the room. You have been called here to explain human food customs to this assembly. Many present have never encountered your species' dietary practices. They have questions. You will answer honestly. Yes, Administrator. Begin by explaining what you brought to the cafeteria. Danny took a breath. I brought kimchi, which is fermented cabbage, pickled garlic, and fermented black beans. These are traditional foods from my culture. I received them in a care package from my grandmother. A Mundari representative raised a thick hand. Why would your family send dangerous materials through the mail? They are not dangerous to humans. Millions of people on Earth eat these foods every day. My grandmother has been making kimchi for 60 years. She is 92 years old and very healthy. Murmurs spread through the assembly. The idea of a 92-year-old human surviving decades of eating fermented food seemed to confuse them. Explain the process, Prellis instructed. Danny explained fermentation again. The bacteria, the acids, the preservation. He tried to use simple words, but the concept itself seemed to horrify his audience. A tall, thin being from a species Danny did not recognize spoke up. You are saying that humans deliberately cultivate decay in their food supply. It is not decay. It is controlled fermentation. The good bacteria stop the bad bacteria from growing. There is no such thing as good bacteria, the being replied firmly. Danny scratched his head. On Earth, there definitely is. Our bodies contain trillions of bacteria. We could not digest food without them. Fermented foods add more good bacteria to help our systems. The room went very quiet. Trillions, someone repeated. Yes, inside every human, there are more bacterial cells than human cells. We are mostly bacteria, if you count by number. Several representatives made sounds of distress. One covered its face with multiple tentacles. This is deeply disturbing information, a Korvathi said. Its voice was sharp and clicking. You are telling us that humans are colonies of bacteria wrapped in skin. I would not put it that way, Danny said. But scientifically, kind of, yes. High Administrator Prellis raised a hand for silence. Let us return to the specific incident. Mr. Kowalski, do you understand why the cafeteria reacted as it did? I do now. I did not know that most species are sensitive to strong smells and chemical compounds. On Earth, fermented food smells are normal. We do not think about them. I should have asked before opening my container in a shared space. Yes, you should have. Prellis studied him with her silver-veined eyes. However, the investigation has concluded that you did not act with harmful intent. Your food, while alarming, poses no actual threat to station residents. The bacterial cultures die quickly in open air. The compounds disperse within minutes. Gorp, sitting in the lower tier, raised his hand. I have a question. Speak. Danny. Gorp looked at his friend with genuine curiosity. You said your species evolved to eat these things. That fermentation was necessary for survival on your planet. But does that mean you actually enjoy it? The taste, the smell? Do you take pleasure from eating controlled decay? The whole room leaned forward slightly. Danny smiled. Yes, Gorp. We love it. The flavors, the textures, the complexity. Some humans spend their entire lives perfecting a single fermented food. Cheesemakers, pickle masters, brewers of alcohol. We have competitions, awards, festivals dedicated to these foods. Festivals, a small rodent-like being repeated. You celebrate bacteria. We celebrate the craft of working with bacteria, the skill of controlling natural processes. The tradition passed down through generations. Danny thought of his grandmother again. When my grandmother makes kimchi, she uses the same recipe her grandmother taught her. That recipe has been in my family for over 200 years. It connects me to ancestors I never knew. The room was silent. High Administrator Prellis finally spoke. Mr. Kowalski, your explanation has been educational. The Assembly will now vote on new regulations for human food consumption on this station. The vote was quick. New rules were established. Humans would eat in special sealed areas. Air filtration would be separate from the main system. Warning signs would be posted. Danny accepted the rules without complaint. He understood now that what was normal to him was genuinely frightening to others. As the assembly ended, Gorp approached him. Danny, yes, would you show me more? About human food? I am still scared, but I am also curious. I have never met a species that celebrates bacteria before. Danny grinned. I would be happy to, but we will start slow. Maybe some mild cheese first. What is cheese again? Fermented milk. Gorp's gray skin paled slightly. I will need time to prepare myself mentally. Take all the time you need, buddy. I am not going anywhere. The sealed room was small, but Danny made it feel like home. They called it the Human Eating Chamber. The official name was Isolated Atmospheric Containment Unit 7, but the aliens just called it the box. Danny had been eating his meals here for 2 weeks now, alone behind thick glass walls with separate air filters humming above his head. At first, it was embarrassing. Other workers would walk past and stare at him like he was an animal in a zoo. They would point and whisper. Danny heard the translations through his earpiece. That is the human who eats bacteria and do not look directly at his food. But something unexpected started happening in the second week. Gorp came to visit. He did not enter the sealed room, of course. He stood outside the glass and talked to Danny through the intercom system. He asked questions about every food Danny ate. What is that brown liquid you are drinking? Coffee. It comes from fermented and roasted beans. More fermentation. Of course. Gorp pressed his face closer to the glass. Does it taste good? It tastes wonderful. It helps me wake up and think clearly. Fascinating. Gorp came back the next day, and the day after. Soon, he was a regular visitor. He brought a small notebook and wrote down everything Danny told him about human food. Then other aliens started coming. A young Selvari scientist arrived one afternoon. She introduced herself as Mivri, a researcher studying unusual biological processes. She watched Danny eat a sandwich with pickles and mustard. The yellow substance, she said through the intercom. What is it? Mustard. Made from ground seeds and vinegar. Vinegar is also fermented, correct? Yes. Fermented alcohol that has turned into acid. Mivri wrote something on her tablet. Remarkable. You are consuming multiple fermented products in a single meal. Does your digestive system ever reject this combination? No. This is a normal lunch. Humans are impossible, Mivri said, but she was smiling. Word spread across the station. The human in the box became an attraction. Beings from different species would stop during their lunch breaks to watch Danny eat. They treated it like entertainment. Danny decided to give them a show that he asked his grandmother to send more care packages. She was thrilled. Every week, new containers arrived at customs. Danny would announce what he was eating through the intercom while curious aliens gathered outside his glass walls. Today I am having sauerkraut. This is fermented cabbage from Earth's German culture. It is sour and crunchy. He took a big bite. Several aliens flinched. Now I am adding hot sauce. This contains capsaicin, the burning chemical we discussed. It will make my nose run and my eyes water, but I enjoy the sensation. He poured sauce on his food and ate with obvious pleasure. His audience watched in horrified fascination. Tomorrow I will be trying century eggs. These are eggs preserved in clay and salt for several months. The yolks turn dark green. The smell is very strong. A Mundari in the crowd fainted. But through all of this, something was changing. The aliens were not just watching anymore. They were asking questions, learning. Some were even showing interest in trying human food themselves. Gorp was the first volunteer. I want to taste something, he announced one day. Something small. Something that will not kill me. Danny thought carefully. How about a tiny piece of mild cheese? Very young cheese, barely fermented. The flavor is gentle. Will it damage my stomach? No. I checked with the medical database. Mundari digestive systems can handle small amounts of most human dairy products. Gorp's gray skin turned slightly pale, but he nodded firmly. I will do it. For science. Danny passed a tiny cube of cheese through the containment transfer slot. Gorp held it like it was a dangerous explosive. The crowd of watching aliens held their breath. Gorp put the cheese in his mouth that he chewed slowly. His eyes went wide. It is. He swallowed. It is very strange. Strong. Almost aggressive. He paused. But not unpleasant. I can taste why you enjoy this. The crowd erupted in chatter. A Mundari had eaten human food and survived. More importantly, he had said it was not unpleasant. This was revolutionary. Over the following days, more aliens volunteered. Danny created a rating system. Level 1 foods were extremely mild. Level 2 were slightly stronger. Level 3 required a signed waiver from the station medical department. Nobody got past level 3. Yet, then the message came from High Administrator Prellis. Mr. Kowalski, report to my office. I have a business proposal to discuss. Danny looked at Gorp through the glass. What do you think she wants? Gorp smiled, showing his small, flat teeth. I think she has been watching too. I think everyone has been watching. And I think your people's strange food has just become very interesting to the galaxy. 6 months later, Danny stood in front of his restaurant and smiled. The sign above the door read, "The Fermentation Station," in 12 different languages. Below it, a smaller sign added, "Human Cuisine. Experience at your own risk." The restaurant occupied what used to be an empty storage bay on level 4. The station had given Danny the space for free, partly as an apology for the original incident, partly because the tourism potential was too good to pass up. Word had spread across the sector. A station where you could eat real human food, where you could taste the biological madness that kept deathworlders alive. Adventurous aliens traveled from distant systems just to try a bite of cheese. Danny had hired help. Gorp was now his business partner, handling customer relations and safety warnings. 3 other aliens worked the front counter, checking species compatibility and explaining the menu. The menu itself was a work of careful science. Every dish was rated from level 1 to level 10. Level 1 included yogurt smoothies, mild pickles, and light vinegar salads. These were safe for most species. The flavors were strange to alien tongues, but nothing dangerous. Level 5 included aged cheeses, strong kimchi, and fermented tofu. Medical waivers were required. Side effects might include digestive surprises. Level 10 was the original kimchi that had started everything. Danny's grandmother's recipe, unchanged. Only 3 beings had ever tried it. 2 had required immediate medical attention. The third, a massive stone-skinned creature from a heavy gravity world, had simply nodded and asked for seconds. Today was special. The station news crew was filming a feature story about the restaurant's 6-month anniversary. Tell us, Mr. Kowalski, the reporter said, keeping a safe distance from the kitchen. How did you go from causing a station-wide panic to running the most popular restaurant in the sector? Danny laughed. I just wanted to eat my grandmother's cooking. Everything else happened by accident. Your grandmother. She still sends you food. Every week. She has become famous on Earth now. News stations interview her constantly. She loves telling them about her recipes while they look terrified. The reporter made a note. And the original incident? The cafeteria evacuation? Any hard feelings? Not anymore. People understand now that humans just eat differently. Our bodies work differently. What is poison to some is dinner to us. Danny shrugged. I think the aliens were scared because they did not understand. Now they understand. Most of them are still scared, but at least they know why. Gorp waddled over, holding a tablet with the day's reservations. Danny, we are fully booked again. There is a waiting list for the Level 7 tasting experience. Also, Commander Yethra is here. Danny raised his eyebrows. Commander Yethra? Security Yethra? The one who interrogated me. The same. Danny walked to the front of the restaurant. Sure enough, Commander Yethra stood near the entrance, his bone plates gleaming under the lights. He looked uncomfortable, like he was trying to pretend he just happened to be walking past. Commander, welcome to the fermentation station. Yethra's compound eyes glittered. I am not here as security. I am here as a customer. Really? I have been researching human food for months. Reading reports. Watching videos. I believe I am ready to try something. He paused. Something small. Danny smiled warmly. What level are you thinking? Level 1. Perhaps the yogurt you serve. Excellent choice. Yogurt is gentle, creamy, just a hint of bacterial tang. Danny led him to a private table away from other customers. I will bring it myself. A few minutes later, Yethra sat in front of a small bowl of plain yogurt. He stared at it like it might attack him. It is just sitting there, he said. Yes, yogurt does not move, but it contains living cultures. Very small ones. They will not hurt you. Yethra picked up a spoon. His bone-covered hand was steady, but Danny could see the tension in his posture. Slowly, carefully, the commander lifted a tiny amount of yogurt to his mouth. He tasted it. His compound eyes flickered rapidly. This is... He paused, processing. Not terrible. High praise from you, Commander. It is smooth. Slightly sour. The texture is strange, but acceptable. Yethra took another small bite. I understand now why the other species come here. It is not just about being brave. There is genuine flavor in human food. Complexity that our nutrient paste does not have. That is exactly it, Danny said. Human food is about experience. Tradition. Memory. Every bite connects you to something bigger than yourself. Yethra finished his yogurt in silence. When the bowl was empty, he stood and straightened his bone plates. Thank you, Mr. Kowalski. This was educational. Come back anytime, Commander. Maybe next time you try level 2. Yethra made a sound that might have been a chuckle. We shall see. He left the restaurant, walking a little taller than when he entered. Danny watched him go, then returned to the kitchen. Through the window, he could see the crowds gathering outside. Aliens from dozens of species, waiting to experience human food, waiting to taste what deathworlders ate. His grandmother would be so proud. Danny pulled up his communicator and sent her a message. Restaurant is doing great. Everyone loves your recipes. Sending you a picture of an alien eating your kimchi. His skin turned purple, but he asked for more. Somewhere across the galaxy, his grandmother would laugh and start preparing her next shipment. Human food was conquering the stars, one terrified bite at a time.